Celebrating a company's anniversary during the summer used to be something I always looked forward to. But this year, well, something changed my outlook. I worked for a thriving sales firm with offices spread across the country, and our success meant our annual parties were anything but ordinary. These weren't just casual gatherings for employees. Oh no, they were grand, almost vacation-like celebrations that welcomed families too. And this year was a big one. The 10th anniversary of the company. Employees from every corner of the country came together to mark the occasion. My wife Mary and I sat at a beautifully arranged table, sharing laughs and swapping stories with colleagues from different regions. It was the kind of evening where everything felt just right. But at one point, I decided to step away. I wanted to catch up with my department's team to personally share the exciting news about a well-deserved bonus coming their way. It didn't take long, but when I returned, Mary was no longer where I'd left her. Oddly enough, I wasn't worried. Mary had a knack for making friends quickly. Our work community was practically a second family to her by now. Our marriage was still fresh, just shy of 3 years, though it hadn't been without its challenges. My family, for reasons I never fully understood, hadn't been thrilled when we first decided to tie the knot. Mary, 5 years younger than me, had a quiet resilience about her. She didn't let the whispers or doubts faze her, and over time, we'd found our own rhythm, building a happy life together. My income allowed her the freedom to work part-time, a situation common among the wives of my colleagues. Naturally, Mary and the other women had grown close, so when I eventually found her near the pond about 40 minutes later, I wasn't surprised. What did surprise me was her demeanor. As I walked over, she seemed distant, concerned. I wrapped my arms around her, but she didn't respond. "What's wrong?" I asked. Her eyes stayed fixed on the water as she muttered, "I don't feel well. Let's go home." I was baffled. The day had barely begun and everyone was still in high spirits. "Are you serious? The party's just getting started?" I said, trying to lighten the mood, but she shook her head and insisted, "Mike, I really don't feel well." She didn't look sick. Her temperature seemed fine, but there was a paleness to her that made me pause. "Maybe it's the heat," I offered. "Let's get inside for a bit." She nodded faintly, and we walked back slowly. Her behavior nagged at me, but with the scorching heat and the celebratory drinks flowing all day, it was easy to chalk up the oddness to exhaustion. Throughout the afternoon, I checked on her periodically. By evening, she seemed like her usual self, smiling, chatting, and even joining me for the festivities. "Feeling better?" I asked. She gave me a reassuring smile, leaned in, and kissed me. "Much better," she said. The rest of the night felt like a dream. The laughter, the music, the clinking of glasses. It all stretched late into the night until we finally called it a day well after midnight. That June had been brutal, with the kind of heat that seems to sap every ounce of energy. Tossing and turning in bed that night, I struggled to fall asleep. When I finally did, it wasn't for long. I woke up with a start, the kind of jolt that makes you feel like someone's physically shaking you awake. My hand instinctively reached out to Mary's side of the bed, but it was empty. She wasn't there. When I checked the shower, it was empty. I figured Mary might have wandered off to take a swim in the pond nearby. It wasn't unusual, especially given the quiet, secluded vibe of the place. Grabbing a towel, I made my way down to the gazebo by the water, taking my time under the soft glow of the moonlight. But as I got closer, faint murmurs reached my ears, growing more distinct with each step. I hesitated, not wanting to intrude on what I assumed was just a couple enjoying some privacy. Then I heard it, a familiar voice, unmistakable. "Mary, you're as stunning as ever," a man said, his tone laced with something more than casual admiration. "Oh, don't be ridiculous," came the reply, her words hesitant and uneven. It hit me like a slap in the face, that voice. It was hers, my wife's voice, and it was no mistake. My heart sank and I inched closer. What I saw stopped me cold. A man stretched out on the sand, and Mary, my Mary, was on top of him. The very woman who had vowed to be faithful to me was entangled with another man. "What the—" I blurted, breaking the spell of their secret meeting. Mary froze, turning toward me with wide eyes. She let out a shriek, fumbling to cover herself with a towel. My lips twisted into a bitter laugh. A laugh I didn't even recognize as my own. The man scrambled to his feet, his face pale but defiant. He took a step toward me, and though I wasn't looking for a fight, he clearly was. One punch was all it took. He was soon clutching his nose, blood streaming between his fingers. Mary rushed toward me, trying to grab my arm, but I shoved her off. My mind was a haze, my chest hollow. Without a word, I turned away, gathered my things, and got in my car. I drove toward the mountains, the cool night air doing little to soothe the fire raging inside me. I didn't care how Mary would get home. She returned later that evening, brought back by the company bus. I don't know what story she fed our coworkers, but no one asked me any questions. The next day, "Mike, please just listen," she began, her voice shaking. The last thing I wanted was a conversation, but I figured it'd be easier to hear her out. "You have to understand, it didn't mean anything," she sobbed, her words tripping over themselves. He's my first. Back then we broke up and I moved to Atlanta. I met you and we got married. But I never told him. Everything's so messed up." "Messed up?" I shot back. "So what, Mary? By your logic, I can sleep with any of my exes just because we had a rough breakup." Her face flushed and she stammered, "No, not at all. That's not what I meant." I cut her off. "Let me make this simple. I'm done. I don't want to see you again, and I'm pretty sure we'll be divorced soon. You can go back to your old life for all I care." "Mike, wait," she pleaded, but I was already walking away. When I got back home a couple of hours later, she was gone. True to form, she showed up for the divorce proceedings, trying to convince me to reconsider. "Can't your lover take you in?" I sneered, barely able to hide my disdain. Her eyes flickered downward. "He has a wife and kids," she muttered, her voice barely audible. She said nothing else, and honestly, I was relieved. I left the company soon after. The story never made the rounds, at least not that I heard, but staying there was out of the question. I wanted a clean break from everything. Months later, I bumped into a former colleague I'd always gotten along with. As we caught up, he dropped a bombshell. "You know, you got out just in time," he said. "Turns out your Mary tried blackmailing that guy, threatened to tell his family unless he gave her money. He wasn't having any of it and kicked her to the curb." I just laughed, shaking my head. What else could I do? It didn't surprise me one bit. Mary had thrown away a good life for a fleeting moment, and it had all crumbled around her.